Okay, this is not a ride sharing video. Once again, this is not a ride sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. President Biden is seeking re-election. President Biden has made it clear in 2024, at the ripe old age of 82, he wants to be reelected. So we obviously have to discuss what the hell can we expect if Biden is serving a second term. But in addition to discussing what happens if Biden is reelected, President Trump obviously entered the race several months ago, and we're going to talk about the difference between these two gentlemen. President Biden painted a picture of what he wants more time to continue or to finish in America. President Trump also portrayed and gave his statements on what he believes America needs and how he feels he would basically differentiate from the current commander-in-chief. So we're going to talk about those two things. Obviously, we have to ask, what would be the differences if Trump is reelected versus what we have now. Now, Trump, in his rebuttal video, he's been talking about things we've probably heard. Certainly the economy, the way it is under President Biden. Most Americans are not happy with the current state of the economy. Now, when it comes to the transgender conversation, the LGBT conversation, depending on what side of the aisle you're on, you have a totally different belief system in what we're dealing with. So we're going to talk about what would things be like for the LGBT community under Biden versus under Trump. And last but not least, the elephant in the room that you'll hear a hell of a lot from liberals, but hardly ever from Republicans. Pro-choice versus pro-life. We have to ask, what would that world be like if Biden is reelected versus if Trump is reelected? Folks who have pro-choice aspirations or pro-life aspirations. What would be the difference between both sides under President Trump? We're going to talk about a few other things, but we want to know what would America be like if Trump is reelected versus Biden. And we're going to talk about the promises that Trump is making. Last but not least, in Trump's rebuttal statement, he talked about the Democrats taking the election and things like that. I want to ask you folks, particularly my beloved MAGA, folks who are on the right, do you believe it is in President Trump's best interest to continue suggesting that the 2020 election was taken from him? Obviously, we cannot rewind time. Obviously, there is no way that Trump is going to be reinstated as commander-in-chief without a 2024 vote. So do you believe it is in his best interest to continue touting this? We're going to talk about that. And last but not least, as always, the program is and shall remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So feel free when you come in the box to understand. You don't have to agree with the host on this program. Nobody's going to censor, block you, or even reduce your time because you don't agree with the host. You don't have to do that here. So looking in the comments to start the program off. Biden always talks about MAGA, so what's different that Trump does it? Heather Mommy, friend of the program, that is an excellent question. What is different that Biden talks about MAGA versus Trump talking about liberal cities and things like that? We can discuss that. The former President Trump, what about it? Okay. Nothing, because he caved on COVID. Wow. If Trump goes to jail, it will be a civil war and it will be World War II. Wake up. If I'm correct, World War II ended in 1946. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, let's get our bro to 100K likes. Appreciate that. Yeah, tap the screen. 700 plus of you folks in here. So yeah, get your boy likes up. Let's start around 10,000 and we'll go from there. Going to go straight to the box. A world under Trump, or better yet, the country. America under Trump versus America under Biden. We're going to be talking about what this country would be like. What do you expect if one of these two gentlemen is our next commander-in-chief? All right, going into the box. We'll start it out with Joby. Good afternoon. Welcome. the program. Joby, so what do you think? If Biden is reelected, how do you see America going forward? If Biden is reelected. Okay, Joby, I don't know if you had a phone call, but we'll give it a second.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, okay. We're talking about the potential for, we'll go into Trump too, but the potential for Biden to be reelected is obviously a real thing. Heather, thank you for the TikTok cap. If Biden is reelected, how do you see America going forward?
I think it's going to continue on the same path it is now. I mean, his legislation has been working, and I think we'll stay on the same path. And I think, as you were saying before about Trump, if he thinks it's in his best interest, it doesn't matter. He doesn't really know what's in his best interest. He just does what he does.
So
He's been
do
complaining
you
about the
favor you mentioned staying on the same path. Do you favor the current path the country is on?
if it's the choice between this path and another path with Donald Trump, I will take this path.
Okay, so obviously you just said you'd pick Biden over Trump in terms of the direction for the country. What is it about the
If it
direction of the country
if it
under? Go ahead.
if it was a sea turtle versus Trump, I would vote for the sea turtle. You feel me?
Okay, all right. Tell us how you really feel. So let me ask you this. If Trump
Hmm.
is reelected, what is it about the direction of this country under President Trump that you're not on par with?
The homophobia, the misogynist, the racist, the
Mm.
top 10.
So
I can't
I
deal with
gotta
four
ask
more
you this
years.
question because I get asked this all the time when we're on the program in regards to suggesting Trump is racist. I'm going to ask you what almost every Trump supporter would ask. What has Trump done to make you feel he's racist?
All right, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a story.
Sure.
Remember in June 2020 when he released that, he retweeted that person in Florida in the golf cart yelling white power
Yeah,
on
yeah, I
his
do remember that. Yeah,
to 84.6 million people on his Twitter
yeah.
account. I was talking to a woman about that, and she asked me for an example of what I thought was a racist, racially charged thing, and I showed her that, and her response to me was, "You just don't get his sense of humor." So I stopped her there, and I said, okay, let's go from there. I said, I need you to tell me now what is so funny about that. Where's the
Well,
joke? What's
yeah,
the punchline?
the obvious question would have been, and when you, ma'am, when you seen that person yelling that out, did you bust out laughing? I mean,
I
yeah,
couldn't
that
believe
doesn't
it.
make any sense.
I couldn't believe it. But I asked her, like, well, if that's his sense of humor, then walk me through the punchline of that joke.
Yeah. So what about folks who would suggest that Biden, vote for me or you ain't black, the crime bill, that Biden is more intolerant than Trump? How do you
But
respond to that?
but that's the thing. I will openly say that yes, Biden has said some racist things in his past, and he has some history in that. But the problem is when you say that about Trump, they go, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, that
I
is
will
true.
concur.
That is true.
I
Yeah.
will say yes. Biden has some questionable shit he said, but has Trump? And I go, nope, no, he hasn't. It's a sense of humor.
Is there anything else other than the guy yelling that out at the villages down there in Florida where it looks like he was at yelling that? Anything else that he's done to make you think he's intolerant? Okay, apparently my guest has a call. I'll give him a second and we'll move it on. Proud Boy, stand back and and stay ready. Yeah, I do remember. Trump 2024. Trump Santos Bobart. Okay, that's a different one. All right, let me move it on. My guest apparently had a call or something. Nevertheless, as always, folks, it's not about agreeing with the host. You could get on here and say something that is totally 180 degrees of what my last guest said. You will be entitled to your free speech rights on this program. I do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary, even if it's telling the host, you're the dumbest person I've ever talked to. As long as you can say it with eloquence, as long as you can state your point and defend your point, you don't have to agree with the host. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored, follow the program. Helps out the algorithms. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety, but liberals are welcome as well. Looking in the comments, what is white fragility? I've heard the term. I've never used it myself personally, But if I had to guess, and I am willing to admit this is a guess, this is speculation. This is simple analysis based on what I've heard so far. If I had to describe what the hell they're talking about when they suggest white fertility, it's probably something along the lines of the white fragility, not fertility. White fragility is probably something along the lines of the replacement theory that, you tend to think we're losing our majority and we need to do something about this. Or that a lot of folks that are white believe that they are the ones that are being victimized, that they're the new victims of racism and things like that. I think it's along those lines. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, going back to the box. North Star Vision. Welcome to the program. Screen, get your boy up 20,000 likes. I appreciate it. Helps out the algorithm. North Star, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, brother. I am a black. I'm blessed to be black. And at the same time, I respect Mr. Trump. And there is a reason I say this.
Let me interrupt you. First, you are in America?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Why do you, now, better not why, but how do you see America if Trump is reelected going forward versus if Biden is reelected going forward? Give me your contrast. Give me your differences.
I think, especially in African American people, they will much rather gather together and do right action, because sometimes a person coming to you straightforward is better than a person who's like a sweet tongue. Trump say what he say exactly. You know what he's saying it, so that you can prepare so for his action. That doesn't mean we all have a bad intention and bad action. The true person always say in his tongue, that's not bad. That's it.
So let me ask you that in regards to Trump says what he means and he speaks the truth. My last guest pointed out Trump tweeting out a video of somebody yelling white power. If Trump says what he means, when he tweeted out a video and literally the first words in the video were white power, a guy yelling it out, what do you think Trump meant by that if he always says what he means?
So in the political world, it is a way of playing a game. So to win, either like how I can make one society better. So some society love to just like talk to them like sweet candies and sugar and whatever it is, and then that way they can be guided. I don't believe in that way, but sometimes you gotta have to like hit them hard so that they can awake. So they can awake and so that they can.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't quite understand what the answer to the question is. He tweeted out a video, someone yelling white power. Mm-hmm. What was he trying to hit? What are you saying he was trying to do?
So the Trump tweeted out to say a white power or somebody else's. So I just want to understand that part first.
It came from his account, and there's no way it's going to be transmitted to the world without him hitting send. It came from him. Why would he do that?
So basically, I don't think he did that. And there's always the people who can play around to just protect the other powers, like the hackers, whatever, like whoever buy the account or something. Like nowadays, like Elon Musk is himself actually buying the Twitter, and he have a power over to control. And in order to keep his business, so they can say something bad about Trump. So to show that, but I'm not gonna say either he did or not. But I don't know. Like I'm not quite sure if a Trump.
So you believe it's possible somebody took over the Twitter account of the president of the United States and tweeted out this picture of or this video of somebody doing that, and not only were they able to do it, Trump never stepped forward and said my account has been hacked, never apologized for it. But you do believe somebody else may have done this.
So this is what I think, not believe. Hopefully it's not right. But like sometimes it's happened in this game, because like if I want the Trump to not be on the top, I will always find a way to pull him down. That's what it is.
Okay, and that happens. You're right about people do that. But I'm trying to find out from you your opinion on if that happens, somebody hacked his account, somebody tried to pull him down, as you're pointing out. Any idea why he didn't tell the public that this awful video that came from my account was by a hacker that was trying to pull me down? Why wouldn't he say exactly what you said if he's known to speak his mind?
Okay, I have no idea. Probably like he might be ready to speak out. So I'm just
3 years
trying.
later?
But so here's the thing, though. Like to a Trump, he's not wanting a power. I'm just trying to explain. People don't understand this part. Trump have already a money. Okay, his business is booming out. Okay, he doesn't care about it. But sometimes I'm not saying like, okay, because of Trump, how many African American actually able to like agree with what that guy said, even though they don't like each other, they become one side and become strong. And so in order to, like to shape their society to stand with each other. But sometimes the
So are
opposite.
you suggesting that because Trump made African Americans financially better off, and I believe a lot of economists agree with you, are you saying because he made African Americans better off financially, they should ignore some of the things he said and stuff?
No, it's not the financial wise. Forget about the financial. Okay, I'm just saying. Let's say, example, I'm a Trump, and there's like two African American who are just fighting for no reason, and then I come and drop the some like racist bomb out there, right? And then those two African Americans will say, okay, this guy will go for us. So now they say, what is our choice? To just like each other the way it is, to support each other the way it is.
Well,
So
speaking of African Americans, your first words were "I am black and I'm proud." Are you suggesting that you are an African American?
I am I am African, and yes, I live in America. I'm proud to
What
be.
what country are you from?
I'm from East Africa.
Country.
Yeah, I mean like Ethiopia.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. I got to move it on, though, North Star Vision. This is our first time talking, obviously, right?
Yes, indeed. I always want to talk to you, and like I see, like I'm not saying like I agree with the Trump what the Trump say, but in the meanwhile, his word make us stronger than before. If you imagine less crime right now, like we focus like how we can actually protect ourselves from these righteous. Like I'm not talking about the white people. I'm not talking about the Trump. I'm talking about the people who are coming to get African American people, especially. I'm just saying that.
How is it?
So
Okay. How do you believe President Trump is going to protect folks that are, as you say, coming to get African American people? What can he do to stop that?
yes, first of all, um, I believe all whites are not racist, but there are the most racist one in it, right? And then there is a one who stand with African American.
Who are the most racist? What did you say?
They are the most like all white people are not racist, but they are the most of them who are racist who doesn't want to stand the black of African American or African. They don't like it at all. But there is a good one who actually want to stand with it and like trying to like trying always to protect. So like our vision is not the white people join us, but we black actually the one who separate each other by location, say like south and north or west and east because of the gangster, those all kind of going. Now they say, what can we do? They are coming for us. They become strong. But even though there's
Okay.
other white people actually joining, like our African American brother, to protect. However, but if the Trump become a president 2020, for example, okay, if he become a president, we already know what he's going for. So it's our time to just stay strong and just figure out our own financial economies and our own of like way of like living and make a peace in our society. That's what I believe in.
Okay. All right. I,
Sometimes,
I gotta. Okay, fair enough. I do gotta move it on, those North Star. I appreciate
okay,
you coming in here, though, man. But interesting perspective. Come on back through anytime.
all right, thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. All right. Looking in the comments, he is going to give Putin weapons and take over. Wow. Wow. Have any of you folks in the comments believe that if Trump is elected, he would switch America's stance from standing with the Ukraine. Vladimir Zelensky, I believe the prime minister of the Ukraine is. How many of you believe he would switch his stance from standing with the Ukraine to standing with Russia if Trump is elected? How many of you folks believe that? Looking in the comment, firmly believe he will. Wow. Okay, let's keep it moving. Appreciate you folks holding on. Tap the screen. Get your boy to 30,000 likes. As always, this program is and shall remain MAGA friendly for its entirety. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. Don't block, don't ban, don't censor anyone for their commentary. The fact that you might disagree with the host, what do I say? It don't mean a damn thing. Keeping it going, the real Indiana Jones. Hopefully you're not landing planes on the wrong runway. All right, the real Indiana Jones. Trump should be in prison. Wow.
Hello, my brother. What's going on?
It's all good. We're talking about the direction America would take under a re-election of Trump versus a re-election of Biden. Where do you see any differences?
I tell you what, I stand with Trump. I always did. I stand with him both times, and I stand with him the third time. I believe our economy was much better under Donald Trump than it's ever been under Obama or Biden. Donald Trump, I have to stand tall. I think our country was much better under him. A lot of people were pissed over things he did. But his mouth got him into a lot of trouble too. I have to admit that. But I also have to agree it was way
outside of the economy. Let's say, because a hell of a lot of Americans, even on the liberal side of the aisle, are not happy with the economy. So let's say Trump gets in, the economy is restored. Are there any other aspects of American life that you believe would be improved under President Trump?
The only thing I see better would be our country not having it groomed, our children being groomed. I honestly think that with Trump coming back in, I think he'd put a stop to our kids being groomed in the schools. I think that would be something our economy should go better forward. I think the schools suck. I don't think they're teaching the appropriate things in the schools. And I have seen our nation dumbed down over the last 20 years.
Let me interrupt you, because in the comments, Taylor Girl asked, groomed for what? When you say children being groomed in schools, how do you believe they're being groomed?
I've seen many, many videos, and I know firsthand them bringing the transgender people into the schools. I don't think that's right. You shouldn't put those books in there. You shouldn't teach kids how to have sex. Those things is wrong. Kids are going to learn that on their own. But you should never be teaching that in the school. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, I did a show just yesterday on this very topic, and I want to ask you this.
Sure.
Governor Greg Abbott down in Texas is proposing a law that all of the schools in the state of Texas have to have the 10 Commandments prominently displayed so that everybody can see it when in the school. Do you see any grooming in forcing children, regardless of what religion they are, to have to read the 10 Commandments every day?
Honestly, this country stands for all religion, and I think every religion should be able to be pronounced in the school. I think when they took that out, I think that's when all things went to hell, to be honest with you. I think
so. He's not asking for all religions. He's asking only for the 10 Commandments. Do you see him as trying to groom our children?
Honestly, I don't see that as that. If you look around, it says in God we trust on everything, even on your dollar bills. I don't see that as grooming, although some people don't agree with that.
So when the 10 Commandments says accepting the Lord as our only God, that's one of the commandments. You don't see that as grooming religion into a child?
Honestly, I don't see that. I was raised in church, so I don't see that. If someone wasn't raised in church, I don't fault them for that. But my personal opinion, I don't see that as grooming.
What is your definition of grooming?
I think changing a person's gender is grooming, because you only have male and female. You can't turn a man.
Is it possible to groom a person? Is it possible to groom a person without changing their gender?
Yeah, look at the government. They do it all the time. They groom everybody.
So what is your actual definition of grooming?
Well, that's kind of hard to say, because I can't specifically point one thing. I've seen a lot of things as grooming. When you're looking at the predictive programming they put on TV, that's grooming, because you're sitting there telling people on television, broadcasting, they're telling everything. To me, that's grooming.
Here's where you're confusing me. You can see giving children lessons on the LGBT lifestyle is grooming. You see it coming from the
Sure.
government. But if I take a child that is a clean slate and tell him to accept the Lord Jesus Christ as as his only God, you don't see that as grooming at all.
No,
And
I
I mean,
absolutely don't think that you should do that. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I don't think you should sit there and push anything down anybody's throat. Now, if somebody was a child of God and they said, "Look, I believe in God," I don't see that as grooming someone. However, if someone don't believe in God and you're shoving it down their throat, well, that would upset me as well. I would see that as grooming. Yeah,
okay. So why
I
is there
agree
no
with you.
outrage about that? One of the most well-known
Honestly,
governors in the country,
I really
forcing
don't.
all
I
of the
don't
schools
know.
in that state to put a Christianity document up on the walls. Why is there nobody saying that that's grooming
I don't
on the
know.
right side of the aisle?
I don't know, but I remember when Trump took office. You remember when they stuck up the Baphomet emblem? Remember that over in the state house in Alabama or Georgia? It was up
Wait,
for
say that
3 days,
again.
I think. Remember the Baphomet statue that was put up right after Trump took office?
Yeah.
Someone put up a Baphomet. I seen that as grooming because they were
Okay,
taking down God with
but you
Trump.
don't see putting the Ten Commandments in every school in the state as grooming.
Well, honestly, I don't know. They took God out of school. I don't see that as grooming. What I would see as grooming
Okay.
is shoving something down someone's throat that doesn't want it to be there. I would see that as grooming.
So if a child stated, I don't believe in God, I don't want to see anything about
Mhm.
God in schools, but they still put the Ten Commandments up, is that shoving his throat, shoving it down his throat?
It would be shoving it down everyone's throat. Yeah, I would agree with that part. On the other hand, I
Okay.
don't see the Ten Commandments in any of the schools around Indiana. Honestly, I don't see any
Not
of
yet.
them.
Not yet. But they're
they
doing it in
may,
Texas.
yeah, is it really? There's
Yeah.
one in
This is
Texas
this
now?
is I'm not making this up. If you Google Texas Ten Commandments in
Sure.
schools, it'll come up. They're literally trying to pass a law that the
So,
governor has admitted he's okay with to force the Ten Commandments to be prominently displayed in every school in Texas.
yeah,
This is a
see, I
real
don't
law.
agree with that. I don't think you should shove anything down anyone's throat. Well, you
Okay.
said Governor
And,
Abbott was
and
doing
real
that?
go ahead.
You say Governor Abbott was doing that?
Yes, it's pretty easy to Google it. Yeah, it's happening
Yeah.
right now.
I'm going
This
to
is
have to
current
Google them
news.
as soon as we get off of here.
Yeah.
I
And
didn't
you
want to
know
be rude
something,
to
and
you.
I'll let you continue, but one of the things I want to say is that
Sure.
we hear about every transgender that wants to play for the wrong team or every pride parade. The reason that so many folks, my beloved MAGA, don't know about this is because the right-wing media is not showing it to you. I mean, it's crazy how many people I talk to that has never heard of this, but they are actually doing this in the nation's second largest state. This is actually happening. So when folks talk about grooming, one of the commandments talks about adultery.
Yeah,
Why, if we don't want
I agree
sexuality
with
in
you.
schools, why are we talking about adultery to elementary school
I
children?
absolutely agree with you, sir. I agree
Okay.
with
All
that.
right.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm asking.
I
Appreciate
agree
you
with
coming
you.
in. I got to move it on, but
Mr.
so you
Hanson
definitely are
Lindgren,
riding with Trump.
thank you, sir. Stand tall. God bless you, brother.
Absolutely a pleasure.
Thanks
Absolutely
for
a
letting me
pleasure.
join. Have a good day, bro.
Anytime. All right. Comments. It says not to commit adultery. Right. What second grader even knows what the hell adultery is? Why is that being taught to a second grader? They're not married. They're not in a relationship. Why is that being taught to anybody in elementary school? Thou shalt not commit adultery. If you don't want sexuality being taught to your kids, then why should you be telling them what could happen if they have an affair? Just let's be fair about it. Let's be fair about it. Looking in the comments. Have you thought about when America was great before equal rights? As an African American, it was not great during that time. We've talked about this many times on the show that when the question of when America was great depends on who you ask. We've talked about it numerous times. Looking in the comments, why teach the Bible? Once again, I'm going to tell you, even as someone who grew up Christian myself, if you had asked me when I was 5 or 6 what religion I wanted to be, I would have told, or what, if you had asked me what the hell do I want to be when I grow up, I would have said a pastor. I went to Bible school every summer for a few weeks. I was always in church. Nevertheless, being honest, I didn't have a choice. Even though I certainly had no problem going to church every Sunday. I grew up in an era where kids didn't have a choice. We talk about LGBT issues. Many of us grew up when religion was, quote unquote, shoved down our throats. If you've ever been to church, look at the children in church. Do they really look like they want to be there? For you folks who are talking about things being shoved down your throat, look at the children that are under the age of 12, and you tell me that they really want to be in that room. They're falling asleep. Their parents are forcing them to keep quiet and sit still. Talk about forcing things down people's throat. Now, the only issue I'm here to discuss is, are we truly questioning the indoctrination of children, or are we only pissed when the indoctrination is LGBT related? But going back to the actual topic, we're talking about whether, or better yet, what America would be like if Trump is reelected versus Biden. We now have a data sample. Appreciate that, TikTok cap. Yeah, thank you. Going back to the box. We'll make it happen with the one and only Taylor Girl. Good afternoon. Well, program. I'm about to turn on some air. My shit overheats. Good afternoon, Taylor Girl. Welcome back. Not much shit out. Good to have you back. Oh, so what do you think? A re-election of Trump versus a re-election of Biden. What are the differences you see for our country? Okay, you gotta explain, what do you believe he attempted to do? Mm, mm, yeah. Wow. Now, okay, I would like to talk to you further, but unfortunately, the guests are saying they cannot hear your audio. This happened yesterday. I don't know why the hell this is happening again. Can you guys hear me at all? Let me try that real quick. Um, yeah, they're saying they can't hear the sound. I don't know why this happened again. It's not you. You said it's a brand new phone. Okay, let me try, and I'll come back out, and I'll drop you and pick you back up. Let me see what the hell happened, because they can hear me, but not you. He said it's a brand new phone. That was crazy. Let me try real quick. I'm gonna go to another guest, and then we'll go back to Taylor Girl, just to see if I have to reset the program or something like that. Guest needs to mute and unmute. For you folks, if this happens, I'm hearing in the audience, I don't know if it's the case or not, because this is something new, but if it happens, try to unmute and unmute your device. Let me see if it happens to, we're going to keep it moving. Key Stevens. Push the mute button. I don't even know what the hell device. Okay, good afternoon, Mookie.
What's going
Can
on,
you
buddy?
hear me?
How are you? Yep.
Loud and clear. Loud and clear. So we're talking about a 2024 presidency of Trump versus Biden in the direction the country might take. What differences do you see America in terms of our direction under Trump versus Biden?
You know what? I think it's going to be just like what you're talking about, and I say this loosely, like kids in church. You know, I think the people on the left will kick and scream and not want to be there and all that, but I think it'll kind of come back around to some sort of normality. And again, I know a lot of people are going to be kicking and screaming about it, but I think
normality
it'll be for
under
the best.
who? Normality under which president?
Under Trump, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Under Trump, I think he's I think you and I had talked about this before too, as well as some of the other chats that I've had. He's a strong presence. So I think as far as the conflicts and the wars that are going on, I think those will be resolved relatively quickly. I don't know if it'll be a
Well, wait,
24
wait a
hour.
minute. I have to interrupt and ask you. Looking back at the Trump 2020 or 2016 presidency, when you talk about things will go back to normal, we had far more rioting and looting in the streets under President Trump than we ever had under Biden. Are you suggesting that that was normal?
I I, I have to disagree with you. You're saying we had more riots under
The
Trump than we
summer
did
of
Biden?
2020 under George Floyd, all that was happening under Trump administration.
Summer of 2020, that was George Floyd. Okay. I don't think that's a.
Yeah,
I don't think
Trump
that's
was
a.
in office for the entire summer when they started naming whole streets Black Lives Matter Way, and they started Black Lives Matter really got really crude. The guys taking a knee, all of that stuff was happening under the Trump administration.
But I think he was out by then. And
No, he
I'm
wasn't.
not
No,
saying
he was
that would.
not.
I don't think that's a presidential thing. I mean, that's an upbringing thing. That's a culture thing. That's a neighborhood thing. I mean, that's going on times 1,000 now. If you want to say under what administration? I mean, I live in Michigan. I'm a couple hours outside of Detroit, and when all of this was happening, when the BLM was going ballistic, they were shipping them from Detroit over to the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, and destroying downtown businesses. I mean, it was, so now it's happened times 1,000 under the Biden administration. And
So
I
let me,
wasn't
when
really
you
going to
say
jump
when
on
you
that.
say normality would resume under Trump, give me some abnormal stuff that's happening now that you believe would go back to being normal under President Trump.
Well, I don't think this whole. I think he will settle the. I don't know how to say it properly, but the whole transgender uproar. With men being in women's sports and wanting to be recognized legally by the government and stuff like that. That's why I'm saying I think there will be a ton of kicking and screaming, but it'll be for the best. I just think he's going to squash a lot of that to where it's just not going to be an option anymore. I think that is so out of control right now under this administration because they just allow, the best way to put it is everybody gets a trophy. And if you don't like it, then you can switch genders. A 5-year-old can tell a parent or a teacher what they want to be in life. You said it yourself. I had to go to church. It was pushed down your throat. I don't think it was shoved down our throat is even the right term. It was just something you did out of normality as a family. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No. If you're doing something that you don't have a choice to do, that's not normality. Certainly, if you don't want
But
to
when
do
you're
it,
a
that's
child,
shoved down your throat.
Watch out. Object on road ahead.
Yeah, I understand. But when you're a child, when you're a minor child, you don't have a fucking choice. That's not your choice. You barely had a choice on what you wanted to eat for dinner. You did what your parents told you to do. You did what your elders told you to do. That's kind of the whole, my friends, mom and dad had the right to whip my ass if I acted like a donkey. You didn't have these choices to be an asshole like you do nowadays. And I think that's a part of the administration we have now, allowing America to act like a damn fool and get away with it.
So what?
It's
So
just,
I get your take on the LGBT stuff, the transgender stuff. What else under Trump would go back to being normal that you consider currently abnormal, other than the LGBT issues?
I think, the gas and the pipeline issues, the mortgage rates,
The economy.
hopefully the American dollar, the economy, everything. Yeah, everything to do with the economy. I've said it since the beginning. I never was a huge Donald Trump fan, per se. Like when he was on The Apprentice, I just kind of thought he was a knucklehead. But when he got into the presidency, I thought he did a good job, for the economy. I think he was a smart businessman, and I think people just didn't like him in general, so they just carried that over when he was a president and said, oh, he's terrible, he's an asshole. He kind of was a dick, but he was good for America. And if you want to use the lesser of two evils, I mean, I'm 8 thumbs up for Trump when it comes to that.
So
I don't want
what
to pay for
about
Ukraine's war.
right now? There's a huge outcry of women that believe that the Republicans are trying to take away their freedom of choice. How do you think that would be settled under President Trump?
Because it comes right back to the transgender. It's not Republicans trying to take away women's choices. It's the Republicans taking away men trying to say they're women and their choices.
No. We're talking about abortion rights. We're talking about abortion rights.
Oh, abortion rights. I don't know. That's a tough thing because it just depends on what you feel. For me, it's more of a religion thing. So I believe everybody has a right to do whatever they want, but I think that's a slippery slope, handsome. I mean, for me, I'm Catholic. That's just something I don't. It's like murdering somebody. I understand so many different views with that entire subject, but when it comes down to it, do I agree with anybody killing an unborn baby for any reason? The answer is no. And it comes to things.
Under a second Trump presidency, you have no idea how he might address whether a woman has a right to choose or not?
Oh, I think he'll strip that.
Okay.
I firmly believe he would. I mean, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do, but the reason I definitely agree with you that I believe he would strip that. But the reason I'm asking you that because you suggested that if Trump is reelected, things will get back to being normal. But now you're admitting he's going to strip every woman away from her rights.
Yeah, you know what though? Here's one of the major problems I see with this whole divide as far as the presidency, the administrations that we have. If you like Trump or want to vote for Trump, then you're a fucking asshole and you believe in everything that he believes in. You want to grab a pussy, you want to bang porn stars. That's not the case. I'm sorry, dude. It's just, this is the lesser of two evils and kind of the majority rules, quote unquote.
Yeah.
He just does a lot better for our country as Americans than Biden does. I don't want to bang porn stars and grab some pussies.
Let me interject and say this. In regards to whether Trump does a lot better for our country than Biden, that certainly could be true depending on what you're focused on. If you are indeed sexually assaulted and you're now pregnant trying to make a decision, President Trump is not going to do a lot better for our country because you just admitted he would probably strip your rights to make a choice away. So it really depends on what you consider as making our country better again. Everybody, obviously, we're not all single issue voters. So if the economy is your primary focus, then many would suggest Trump would be better. But if you are transgender, let's say, for instance, you are truly transgender, do you see Trump as the best choice to vote for?
If you are on the side of being transgender?
Let's say you are a transgendered individual.
Okay.
In 6.3 miles, take exit 46.
If you are a transgendered individual, do you believe Trump is... You got a GPS go. If you believe Trump is... If you are a transgender, do you believe Trump is the best choice to vote for?
Oh, God, no. I mean...
Right. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, apparently my guest had a call or something. All right, we'll move it on. Always welcome back, by the way. Now, obviously you guys could hear that last guest, so I don't know what happened with my first guest, but we'll try it again. Looking in the comments, though, abortion is health care. Republican propaganda has people really warped their minds. Wow. They say the same thing about us in regards to the gun debate. So that's why I always say I don't block, ban, or censor anyone because nobody's opinion is any stronger than anyone else. And that also includes yours truly. That's why I don't censor anybody, because no matter what the hell you say, somebody else out there thinks you're dumb as hell and you should be prevented from saying it. That'll never happen on this broadcast. By the way, tap the screen, get your boy up to 40,000 likes. As always, the program is and shall remain MAGA friendly for its entirety. Liberals are welcome as well. If you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored, just because the host don't agree with the hell you have to say, feel free to tap the screen and follow the program. Helps out the algorithms. But we do believe everybody is entitled to speak. You don't have to agree with each other to maintain your First Amendment free speech rights. All right, looking in the comments. So abortion was celebrated to be a state's rights, but now it should be a federal issue to ban it. In the comments, Nick D, I have said from day one on this program, anybody who believes anyone suggesting that the current trend of banning abortion is returning the rights to the state is believing a lie. I think the effort to ban this abortion drug is a clear-cut example. That is, the aim is to do it federally. The aim is to do it federally, but it's not going to be as popular to tell people you're trying to take everybody's rights away on a federal level. So to get in the door, just tell them you're going to do it from the state's issue. But the end goal is to do it federally. Come on now. If you truly believe that banning abortion is saving the life of the unborn, you're saving babies' lives, why the hell would you only want to do it in some places? If you truly believe you're saving lives, you're going to want to do that everywhere you can. It's going to be federal. But for now, to get in the door, they'll tell you it'll be states. Looking in the comments, nothing wrong with the day after pill. Depends on who you ask. Trump did nothing but ride Obama's economy wave. I've heard other folks say that. Abortion should never be talked about by men only. What if it is the child of that guy? I am not in any way, fashion, or form believing that you should be able to interfere with a woman's right to choose. Nevertheless, if that is your child that you're going to be expected to be responsible for, the particular father of that child is a whole different story than some politician in Washington. But if the particular father of that child, is now like, man, this is my last chance to have children, or, this is my first child, do we just pretend like he means nothing? That is a good question to ask. And I'm saying that from a liberal pro-choice perspective. Abortion should never, let me see here. Our states are not united. Which president would unify America more in your opinion? Trump or Biden? Obviously, we're not united under Biden. We were not united under Trump. But which president would be more unifying, Biden or Trump? Looking in the comment, or better, go into the box. Appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Attempt to get your boy to 40,000 likes. Thank you. Let's go back to Taylor Girl real quick. See if everyone can hear her now. A brand new phone. Taylor Girl. Good afternoon. Can you hear me now? Okay. Now, real quick in the audience, can you hear my guess? Taylor Girl, the country under Trump versus Biden. What's the difference? They still can't hear you. That's crazy. They're still saying they can't hear you. She said that ain't nothing but the devil, but yeah, they're all saying they cannot hear you. I don't believe they're all lying. All right, try that real quick. Now, she says she's on a brand new phone. That is really weird.
I just got this phone like a week ago.
Okay, now everybody said tell her to mute and unmute. Yeah, they can't hear you, Taylor. Turn off phone and back on phone. No, they cannot hear you. Can anyone hear her? Okay, they said there we go. Okay, they can hear you now.
I can. Now my voice is a little cracky right now, so I sound like a guy, but I'm a girl, okay?
Okay, well, you're not transitioning.
No.
So the country under Biden versus the country under Trump, what do you see? What differences do you see?
Of course, like before, we were not united under Trump. But
what about Biden?
Under Biden, of course, we not united under Biden. I don't think any president right now that runs either as Republican or liberal is going to unite it because we're too divided.
How can we reverse that?
A wizard. I don't know, but that's the only thing I see working.
But you got to understand, whoever becomes the commander-in-chief, they have to make that attempt. So that you have to have an answer if you're commander-in-chief. Obviously, we're not commander-in-chief, but they have to tackle that.
Right. But that's the thing, because it's so divided right now. And even with me being somebody who's very left leaning, it's extremely divided because of the lines we stand on, the issues that they bring to the forefront. So it's like a strict line in the sand, and even the
Okay.
people in the middle have to like kind of pick a side at some point.
So, in terms of just the sheer direction of the country, which president do you think would lead the country on a better direction?
Um, I mean, because I'm left leaning, I'm gonna say Biden. Like, and I know people's like that's biased, and I'm human, I'm flawed, so I'll accept that. I'm gonna say Biden, because to me he is more for allowing people to be who they are, even the people who don't agree with it, as opposed to Trump, who is trying to, and not just necessarily Trump, Republicans that he sides with are trying to strip things away from people that they don't agree with.
But how do you feel about folks on the right that would suggest, listen, my daughter, scored a hell of a lot of points on the team. We're very happy that she has a record at high school that'll be there for years. And now some guy that transitioned into a woman is taking her records down when he's born with the body of a man. Do you see anything wrong with allowing folks who are biologically born male to play for female teams, compete, and essentially dominate in those leagues? Do you see anything wrong with that?
I would say I see where people are coming from, but from what I know, in order for you to get on a team at that capacity, you have to have been going through transitioning for a while. For a while, you can't just come out and say, "Hey, now I identify as a woman," and you still have testosterone, off the charts.
Where have you heard that?
Just I have three teenage girls in high school right now. They're all in different aspects of sports. I got sons in different little league sports, and we've had instances out here like that where things have been brought to the limelight in our school district, and it was a line drawn in the sand, explain to them, while you do believe you exist as this, you have not been going through the transitioning phase long enough for us to allow you
So
to
define
compete.
long enough. Define long enough. Let's say, for instance, I'm a fifth grader and I start identifying as a girl. And when I reach eighth grade, I want to play for a female team. Now I'm 6'6". I was about 6 feet in eighth grade. Should I be able to do it?
I don't think you should be able to do it. Like I said, I'm in Georgia, so I can't speak for other states. But here, most of our schools, they don't have teams on the school level. That's usually like park league um, events, and parks have strict rules too.
Okay. So you're more along the line of the Republican side of the aisle. You don't believe in letting someone transition and play for the other team.
If they have not been transitioning long enough.
What is long enough? What do you define that?
Well, that's something that a doctor would have to define. That's the thing. I have friends who are in the medical field. I have friends who have transgender children who are transitioning. They haven't done anything with it surgically, but they've started on the hormonal pills and stuff like that. Meaning that they've most doctors I know say at least a year. They have to have at least been on hormonal therapy for at least a year.
Okay. So what about the notion that the liberal side of the aisle is allowing children to at least to some degree, if not change their pronoun, to completely transition without even letting the parent know? Do you support that?
Um, I got a problem with this issue of pronouns because they're making it a big issue now. Pronouns have been a part of English damn language since the beginning of time.
No, no, not this way. If I'm a guy,
I
if I
know.
am a here's what I'm talking about. If I'm a third grade boy, but I want my teacher and everybody in school to call me a girl, and I don't even want my parents to know this is happening. Do you support that?
Well, I wouldn't say I support that because that's something that you have to have parents' permission for. Like most teachers are going to bring that. I know most teachers, my kids' teachers would bring something like that up to me. I'm just more open to allowing my kids to be a little bit more expressive. You don't feel like you're a boy and you want to, wear a dress or whatever. Okay, son, that's fine. I just want you to be able to come and talk to me because you are going to face a lot of opposition. But I
What do you
believe
mean by
that teachers,
opposition? What do you mean by opposition?
opposition, because people are people. There's gonna be
Yeah,
people at school that
that's
that,
fair.
that
That's
might
fair.
target him and say mean things to him, who may actually try to bully him. And I just would
Right.
maybe try to prepare my child to learn how to deal with that and let
But
them know
wait a
I'm here
minute,
to
you
help them
do
deal with it.
understand, because you're starting to sound like you might have a little MAGA in you, but I got to ask you this. You do understand that us liberals, us folks on the left, and I am admitting I'm left, that is something that folks on the left is proposing, that a child can make these changes irrespective of the president knowing.
Right? I understand that. And guess
But you
what?
don't favor it. You don't agree with it.
If that's what I believe, but I can't tell you that you're wrong for you believing that. That's the difference. I could never be MAGA.
All right. But if your child wanted to change their pronouns at school, you believe you should have to be notified.
I would like to be notified.
Not like
Yes.
to be
I
notified.
feel like
You
I
want
should
the law to
because
require it.
the law.
If your child wants to transition without notice, without telling you, or at the very least change their pronoun in schools, do you want it to be an option that you be notified, or do you want it mandatory that they have to tell you what your kid is doing at school?
I would say I want it to be an option. Me being a person, I would want it to be an option.
Okay. So in other words, if your child wants to do this, then the teachers really don't have to tell you.
No, they don't. I would prefer they do, but I'm not gonna make it mandatory.
All right. Fair enough, Taylor. You held your own. Appreciate you coming in again. Got to move it on.
All right, talk to you later.
Good talk. Brand new phone. Now I guess we know if someone, because we actually ended a show like that yesterday. We couldn't figure out why guests could not be heard, and it was not Taylor Girl. So for any folks out there, if we do make a connection and we can't, and folks in the audience can't hear you, because I could hear her the whole time. I never had a problem hearing her, but I guess that is the solution to mute and unmute the phone. All right, looking in the comments, I'm so far left. What does that say? Hell yeah. Hey, hang on a second. I'm so far left. Hell yes, something. Hell yes, I want to know. And I'm to the left as well, Cleo, in the comments. I would want to know as well. And I would want the state to mandate that I know. I don't want it to be optional because I don't know what the hell is on the mind of my child if they wanted to do this without me. And I certainly don't know what the teacher represents. So I would not want it to be optional. I want to know. Now, there are children that may misjudge how you would take something. Maybe I'll give you an example. My dad was a Vietnam veteran straight out of the Marines. And he would not have been embracing of the LGBT lifestyle at all, rest his soul. He would have not accepted it. But there are children that may think that a parent won't accept this, so they try to do it in hiding, when in reality the parent would be like, why didn't you just tell me of this? We could have made this work. So I do believe the parents should know. I really do. So I don't believe it should be optional, but that's my own opinion. Looking in the comments, don't teachers have enough to do? This is extra that should be talked about at home. Well, in regards to Keith, in regards to don't teachers have enough to do, there's some people telling us that teachers should have guns. Teachers should be prepared to get in gunfights. I think that dealing with an LGBT issue is quite safe compared to getting into a gunfight against a well-armed gunman. But there are people that believe teachers should have guns. So I think this is pretty far down on the chain compared to that. They are too young to know what they want. Wait until they're of legal age, says Rep. Well, and I'll go right back to the box. By the way, tap the screen, get your boy up to 50,000 likes. I do appreciate that. We don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. But in regards to what Rep said in the comments, children are too young to know what they want. They shouldn't be indoctrinated. They shouldn't have anything forced on them. I mentioned this on yesterday's show. If you are forcing children to put their hand over their heart and say, I pledge allegiance to the flag, they don't know that they want to pledge allegiance to a nation. Many kids don't even know what the hell it means to pledge allegiance to a nation. If you want to give children a chance to grow up and make their own decision, then don't indoctrinate them with patriotism. That also is indoctrination. keep in mind, just because we agree with something doesn't mean it can't be indoctrination. We have a mantra in this country that indoctrination is okay as long as we agree with it. But when you start forcing children to stand for the anthem and be patriotic, that's indoctrinating them as well. They're too young to know if they want to be patriotic. They may grow up and want to leave America entirely. That's indoctrination. And the same thing applies to, as I mentioned before, Texas Governor Greg Abbott putting the 10 Commandments on the wall. Once again, they're too young. They may grow up and want to commit adultery. Shout out to all of my Ron Jeremy and Randy West and Peter North fans out there. If you know, you know. So everybody don't want to do what's on the wall with the 10 Commandments. So once again, indoctrination is indoctrination. As I stated before, if you do not want children indoctrinated, you are hypocritical if you change your stance when the indoctrination is from something that you favor. I've said it before that, in my opinion, when you analyze some of these folks, it's using children to mask something else that could be hatred. All right, looking in the comment, or better, going to the box, tap the screen, get your boy up to 50,000 likes. Takesha, welcome back to the program. Good afternoon, Takesha. The church is KKK. What did that say? The church is KKK, is MAGA, is does this? I don't get that comment. Audrey. Takesha, good afternoon.
Hey, ask them, can they hear me before I start?
Can you folks hear the guests? We have to ask that question. Can you folks hear my guests? They are not indoctrinating anyone. It's all right-wing lies. Give it a rest. Everybody can hear you, Takesha. Okay, so Trump versus Biden reelected. We've got 2 years of Trump's or Biden, so we do have a data sample now to compare both of these folks. How do you see the direction of America changing under a Biden administration versus Trump?
Let me say this. Okay. Since Biden's policies have taken effect, which is the infrastructure plan and stuff, the economy is improving. I know for a fact that the first 2 years of a presidency is the results of the last presidency. So when people give Trump credit for the economy, all you have to do is go and look at the chart of the growth that was going on in Obama's last term. The growth of the economy was already going up. You cannot give a president who has only been in office about 3 weeks and say he got the greatest economy, because his policies have not been implemented, nor has he come up with one. So just because the economy looked good under Trump's first years doesn't mean it was his economy, because he had no policy to put towards the economy. So let me get that straight. That's why it was not his economy. People are not giving Obama credit for Trump's economy. We're giving Obama credit for Obama's economy. Okay, now, let me say this. I don't agree with everything that President Biden has done, but he has done some good things that he's not getting credit for.
Like what?
Now, the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure bill. He gave the most money to HBCUs. He's gone in the reserve, even though it's, lower than what it was, to try to help lower the gas prices. So he's done some things. The inflation is not his fault. It's a global thing. He's not the president of the globe. He's the president of only the United States. So we can't blame him for inflation. We can't blame him for gas prices. I'm so sick of hearing about that XL Keystone Pipeline extension that the Supreme Court shut down. That's getting on my nerves so bad. If they say it one more time, I'm going to fall out my chair, hit my head, get amnesia, come back, and try to remember what they said.
So let me ask you, because you obviously hear people talking about the LGBT transgender stuff. What about it? What about it? How do you see, because transgender issues is becoming a huge issue in this country. Some might argue that it's because the right is bringing it up, but it is what it is. How do you see Biden getting this issue under control?
Let me say this. The LGBTQ community did not start under Joe Biden.
No. True.
They have been around. They have been trying to make themselves known. They have been in the spotlight. My thing is this: I don't have a problem with those people because they're human, but I do have a problem with them saying they want to be inclusive when really they're trying to be dominant. Now, let me say that there is a difference in the LGBTQ community and gay people. Gay people have been around for as long as you can remember. They're not so vocal in trying to say, well, let's take the name of pregnant women. We're not going to call them mothers anymore. We're going to call them birthing parents, and we're not going to let them be called breastfeeders. We're going to call them chest feeders, and they're going to be people who ministrate. See, all this kind of foolishness like that, I don't agree with, because in order for you to be who you are, you don't have to lessen who I am.
Wow. So what you're saying is that the transgender community is not trying to be inclusive. They're trying to be dominant.
They're
That's what
trying
you
to be
said.
dominant. They're trying to be
Yeah.
dominant. Because
So,
anytime you come in and try to demote somebody else, you're trying to elevate yourself.
so at the end of the day, a lot of the drama they're facing, they're bringing it on
They're
themselves.
bringing it on themselves.
Mm.
Nobody was bothering them until they started trying to rename other groups of people.
Wow.
Nobody was paying them any attention until they came out like, okay, you want to call me cisgender. And I understand that word has been around a long time, but when have we ever been called cisgender? Think about it.
Never. Yeah. That's
Never.
a really I've never
they're
heard somebody
trying
from
to,
the
they're
I've never heard somebody from the left say what you said. I mean, because you definitely lean left, but that's a pretty good pushback.
I lean so left till I fall. But what I don't have to do is agree with everything the left does. Let me say that. Back to the sports. I don't agree that a trans woman, which was a man before, should compete with women. I don't care how many hormone pills they take. I don't care about the testosterone. They are still men. Just because they transition to look like a woman does not lessen their ability as a man. So it's not a fair playing field when they're playing in sports against women. Let me bring, the Bible said that women are the weaker vessel.
Whoa! You said the Bible. Now
We
you
are the
lost me.
weaker vessel.
Go ahead.
The weaker vessel. That means that men are stronger than women no matter what they do. They were built stronger than a woman. There is no even playing field.
I don't think you said anything I disagree with, but I pointed out the Bible because now you're throwing religion
I just had
into.
to put that in there. We are the weaker vessel.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
You can tell.
what about all
First
these
of all, you
women?
can, even if I
But
don't
what
put
about
the Bible, even if I don't put the Bible in there, women
yeah?
are softer than men. We're more emotional than men. We're just softer. We're just softer beings.
Since you're turning me on with that, so
We don't
at
look
the end of
for.
the day, what about all the folks that would suggest that a woman could do anything a man could do?
We can't.
Wow.
We can't. Not equally. We can't. Not equally. We can't. I'm sorry. I'm a woman, and not equally. We cannot. We
Okay,
really can't. I
you're
wouldn't
gonna
want a
piss off
man.
a lot of
I would not want a man.
feminists with this.
Listen to
You're gonna
me.
piss.
I would not want a man that was on my level or weaker than me. We out in the streets, and a man come up and said, "I'ma kill your woman." He said, "Oh no, baby, take it over." No, I want a man that said, "Man, you better get out my girl face."
So you do like a traditional relationship.
I do.
All right.
But I'm going to say this. Every tub had to sit on its own bottom, and everybody got to live for themselves. I can't live their life, and they can't live mine.
I can't argue with that. Takesha, always a pleasure. I got to part ways, but damn, good talk.
All right, friend.
Always up to it. Hearing that, and the whole time I'm hearing in my mind, I'm nervous, I'm trembling. waiting for you. You guys don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Y'all ain't ready for that. All right, looking in the comments, though, caller is delusional. I don't think that what she was saying should be delusional. I think that a lot of folks on the right actually would agree with her perspective, certainly when it comes to the transgender community. I see some of you folks are putting Betty Wright in there. Some of you folks know something about that real R&B there. Looking in the comments, she is not on the left at all. I gotta disagree with that. I do believe, I've spoken to her before, that she leans left. You don't have to agree with everything from Trump to still be a Republican. You don't have to agree with everything from the LGBT community, for instance, to be a Democrat. There's a hell of a lot of Democratic Christians out there. You heard her mention the Bible. You know what Christianity thinks about the LGBT community. There's no denying. Let's take someone like Martin Luther King. Absolutely would be a liberal in today's society. He was a Republican during his time. But in today's world, you know he would be a liberal. He would be a progressive. But he also was a reverend. How might Martin Luther King respond to the LGBT community? You think Jesse Jackson? He's a reverend also. You don't see him getting involved in LGBT issues. So you can be a Democrat and still have the mindset of what Takesha was saying. Certainly if you believe Jesus Christ was our Lord and Savior and things like that. That certainly could happen. Looking in the comments. That was a good talk, by the way. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 70,000 likes. As always, I don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. We get a variety of opinions here. Everyone is entitled to their First Amendment free speech rights on my program. We get everything from left of Bernie Sanders to I am sitting down having dinner with QAnon. And we don't block or ban anybody. You're allowed to say what you want to say. Nevertheless, be willing to defend your point. I want to also thank all of you folks during that last conversation, which I was thoroughly enjoying. Some of you folks did send the hearts and things like that. I do want to thank you for your generosity. I normally call you out by name, but that conversation was pretty good. Going back to the box. Omerta, 2010. You folks ride. You could be anywhere you want to be on this app. The fact that you is always an honor. Omerta, 2010.
Good afternoon. How are you?
It's a pleasure. Talking about a Trump administration versus a Biden administration, they're obviously both in for the 2024 ticket. What are the differences you can see America going in different directions? You can see America going in from these two gentlemen.
Neither. The country's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter which one of them is voted in. Neither one of them is going to help the country.
Why do you say that?
Because we're divided, plain and simple. You got people on the left, you got people on the right, you got North versus South, you got black versus white, you got Chinese versus white. It doesn't make a difference. And it all starts with the media.
What could be done to unite this country? If you believe both candidates suck, what could be done to unite this country?
Good question, and unfortunately, it's a very tough one to answer. Everyone has to get their heads out of their asses to pretty much figure out that just because I'm white doesn't mean I hate you. There's some points that you made on the show today that I didn't care for. There's some points that your guest made I didn't care for. But I sat here.
For shits and giggles, since we're talking, I'd be honored if you could discuss them. Give me some of the points I may have made that you may have not favored.
You, when you're talking with well, I guess you could start with the whole school thing. Yeah, you're indoctrinating kids when you're making them say the pledge. I 100% agree. But you're also on American soil, so that's a really tough one. I stand for everything the country has, going on, even though most of it, like you said, is shitty. It's a shit show. This country is 100% a shit show. You can't, people can decide if they want to wear a dress, and you think that we're going to go fight other countries. You're indoctrinating kids 100% with the pledge. I 100% agree. But when you take that back to, you were saying the 10 Commandments in the Texas school, better pull that shit out real quick. I 100% disagree with that.
Why?
You're talking putting the Bible in public schools. Leave the Bible out of public schools. It doesn't belong there. There's a reason why people pay money to go to private schools. It's because those are usually more based on whatever you want, whether you want to be Catholic, Christian, or...
I'll let you continue, but let me interrupt and ask this. There is a huge outcry of the alleged indoctrination from the LGBT community, particularly trans. On the right, there is virtually no outcry for what we're discussing now, whether it's indoctrination with the pledge or indoctrination with the Ten Commandments. Why is there no outcry from these items if folks are suggesting they don't want children indoctrinated?
The real question is, what are we trying to hide right now? There is something going on bigger in this country, and we're going to constantly nitpick on one thing. Right now, it just so happens to be the trans. But wait until there's a school shooting. It's going to go right back to school shootings. We're going to forget about the whole trans issue for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. And then once the I don't want to call them famous, but when the fame goes down from whoever shot up the school goes away, then it's going to go right back to the trans. And everyone is so pretty much, the hatred between everyone with that isn't going to help anything. So you might not like guns, but I'm an avid two-way supporter.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that quite answers the question. What I'm saying is, why is there no outcry about trying to force religion or the Pledge of Allegiance on children if you admit it's indoctrination? Because folks on the right are suggesting we don't want our children indoctrinated when it comes to LGBT issues. But here we are talking and admitting that children are being indoctrinated with the pledge and with religion, and they're not saying anything. Why is the anti-indoctrination crowd so quiet on this?
Hatred. 100% hatred. You were born, well, not necessarily born that way, but like you were taught to not like gay people. Well, some, not everyone, because I've got gay friends and, everything like that. I don't have any trans friends. Personally, I don't believe it. I think it needs to stop, and it needs to stop being put on TV. This is the issue, and everything is going to go and stem back to the media. If it's on TV, that's the only way people understand what's going on. I don't believe in a trans community. I think it's a giant nightmare. I think you're pushing that down kids' throats. I don't agree with it. Like you said, I also don't agree with the pledge. It doesn't need to be said. But now also going back, because I wanted to comment on what you were saying earlier with the one guy was talking about the Baphomet statue. I fully support that guy. If you have not watched the documentary Hail Satan and know it's not exactly what it sounds like, I suggest you watch it. Because what they're saying in there is you want to force your after-school clubs. It doesn't matter what it is. They've got Catholic after-school clubs. They've got, Jewish after-school clubs. So
I don't know if
Lucci and Greaves.
Okay. But
Lucci and Greaves.
So just to clear it up, so in regards to the indoctrination thing, you're admitting that the right has a hatred towards this community.
No, I said that everyone has a hatred, period. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. I guarantee you there's going to be a hatred.
The outcry towards indoctrination from the LGBT community, for the most part, is coming overwhelmingly from the right. It's not coming from the left.
According to who?
According to everywhere you look. How many liberals you see are protesting transgender in schools or playing for teams? It's almost all folks on the right.
Correct. Now, not correct with all folks on the right. I've got lefty buddies who are 100% anti-gun, want nothing to do with guns, but guess what? They also don't like the trans community, and they think that needs to stop. It's not, and that's what it is. Everyone is part lefty, everyone is part righty. You are never going to have a full-blown lefty who, like you said, agrees with everything the lefts agree with, or a righty who believes everything a righty agrees with. Like, I can't stand Biden, but Trump isn't much better either. I don't like either one of them. No matter what, the country's going to get run to the ground because neither one of them know what the hell they're doing. They're too damn old. They don't understand. I don't want to say like these times now because, I'm 37 myself, so it's not like, I'm super old, but I'm like right in the middle. I understand technology. I know how technology works. I don't have to have my kid come up to me and be like, hey, this is how you send a text message. Thanks, I'm not an idiot. But the problem is you have these people who are diehard Republicans and diehard Democrats. That's fine. That's what you were born and raised with. But guess what? That doesn't mean, okay, well, I'm a Republican, but I totally agree with everything the Democrats are saying. But fuck it, I got to go vote Republican because I'm a Republican. And that's what a lot of people are doing.
I can see that. I know being African American, we overwhelmingly vote Democrat just for the sake of it. So and there's a lot of women that vote for what their husband vote for, and people vote based on what their mom and dad did. So I do agree with you that a lot of us vote party line.
There needs to be some, I don't want to say test because it's not the word I'm necessarily looking for, but if you don't follow politics and you're just going to vote for someone because he's black, shouldn't be allowed. If you're voting for someone just because they're a woman, don't think it should be allowed. You have to know at least some kind of policy or something that they want to do and find out where that stems from before you can vote.
What if one candidate is a Muslim or an atheist and the other candidate is Christian and somebody uses just that alone to vote? Should that be allowed?
Who the hell cares? Again, I don't care if you're an atheist. Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. This is why the country is divided.
When Obama ran for office, they were certainly calling that man a Muslim, trying to do just that.
Oh, they called him a lot worse than that, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know that.
But, I
think you're consistent. I'll give you the last
one. I wasn't born, I didn't wake up when I was a baby and go, I hate all black people. That is taught. I don't care who you are. It's taught by your family. Now, granted, I don't hate black people, so don't get that twisted. I'm just saying that's something that is taught. You don't just wake up one morning and go, I hate blacks, I hate Jews, I hate China. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You said you disagree?
I will tell you this. Sometimes it can be subconsciously taught as opposed to direct. For instance, I don't know if you've ever seen the doll test on YouTube. DOLL, the doll test, where they ask children, what is the bad doll? They put 3 dolls in front of the children. One Hispanic doll, one black doll, one white doll. And the dolls are the same doll. They just have different skin tones. And they'll ask them, which one is the bad doll? Which one is the ugly doll? And even the black children are pointing to giving all of the good attributes to the white doll. All of the children, for the most part, are favoring the white doll in giving negative attributes to the black doll. So we have to realize you don't have African Americans teaching their kids to hate black people. The problem is sometimes it's subconsciously done through the television. I'll give you a good example for myself.
It's not sometimes. It's always, 100% always through the media. I'm not going to disagree with that. It's all the media. There's absolutely no way around that. Yes, because I know exactly what you're talking about. They did that test years ago with just a piece of paper. And, it was like a Xerox copy of a black man, a Xerox copy of a white man. And, of course, everyone's terrified of the black man because he's got more contrast, so he looks darker. And darker things are meaner, and meaner things are bad. And that's pretty much what it was. But like I said, from the beginning, it's the media. Until you shut this shit down with the media, it's never going to change. I think all censorship, within respect, needs to be taken away. Stop censoring everything, because now you're going to cause all these other problems with why people hate people. Because now, Fox News is showing me, well, maybe I shouldn't like black people because they all carry guns and the police are shooting them. Good job on the police for shooting. No. There are good cops, there are bad cops. I personally can't stand state troopers. I'm a truck driver. Every state trooper that's ever pulled me over, guess what? He's giving me a ticket. So I 100% will tell you, all state troopers are bastards. But guess what? I got no problem with my municipal police. They usually let me go, even on the motorcycle. When I'm doing like 80, 90, they're like, slow down, you got a CDL, just don't be dumb.
Yeah, they're getting you guys because they think you got deep pockets and the tickets are much. You guys are revenue. That's what that is. You guys are revenue.
Pretty much. And that's why, like I said, state troopers, not a fan of them. But if you can pull the media out.
Move it on, man.
No, that's fine. Thank you much.
Good talk. Always a pleasure. In the comments. I like that. Me and the last guest wouldn't agree on everything, but I certainly appreciate the way he presented it. And I kind of started leaning towards some of his opinions, so I certainly enjoyed that. All right, looking in the comments, what is the name of the documentary? What was the name of the documentary he mentioned? Somebody let me know in the comments. What was the name of the documentary he talked about? Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Somebody stated that's what it was. The documentary's name was Hail Satan. Kind of like the right hand from the Nazi party. All right, looking in the comments. The only thing that would make America great again is if Donald Trump dropped deceased. Wow, come on now, Copper Tank. You want the former president, number 45, Donald Trump, to just pass away? You think the country would be better off if the man passed away? That's really harsh. Come on now. You don't really mean that, do you? Even in religion has been taught to kids that light is good and dark is bad. That is true. And I was actually thinking of that when he said that dark things represent bad and good. Yeah, that is true, because obviously heaven is white and there's, it's in the clouds and shit, and look at where hell is. It's dark, Remember the old movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore? The demons came out and they were black. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Even in the cowboy and Indian movies, the bad guys wore black. We certainly do actually do that. Is that a subliminal message? White supremacy. Not talking about the race, but just the actual color. The color white is better than the color black. We do portray a picture that good things are white and bad things are black. That could actually have some spill into that. But we can stop it. Yeah, we can stop it, Venom Chick, but do we want to? Even for us folks that are outside, myself, I drive for a living. I would rather be out during the day than during the night. Once you get to be my age, you tend to endorse the slogan, nothing good happens after midnight. Even being out after dark is bad. Even when the sky is black, it's not a good time. Wow. Wear black to funerals, I see that. I love a clean black car, though. I don't know, but when you got them white, back in the day you had the white walls and you got a nice shiny pearl white car. I don't know. Hell, even when I put on, I'm a black dresser. I like to dress in black, but when I put on some white, damn, he clean as hell. It is what it is. We'll keep it moving. In the comments, we'll go straight to Lock Talks. Frequent viewer, always a pleasure having you on. Lock Talks, good afternoon. A Trump world versus a Biden, Trump nation versus a Biden nation. How do you see the differences in America going forward under, because we do have a rematch on our hands, it look like, Trump versus Biden, unless DeSantis or one of these other guys propel themselves to the top. But what do you see America like with Trump back in office or with Biden being reelected?
Well, I think with another Biden presidency, we would just get, the same thing we're getting now. It's just completely regime approved. Anything the corporate MIC, the military industrial complex, wants is pretty much just what they're going to get. Open borders.
What do you mean by regime? When you say regime approved, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that major corporations and the MIC are pretty much in bed with the federal government. And they're pretty much in there calling the shots. Lobbyists, super PACs, stuff like that.
How do you see, what do you see in our current world in this country? What do you see happening that leads you to believe that our government is in bed with corporations?
Well, right now you got the Ukraine conflict, which is pretty much negatively. It's not approved by the American public. You had all these foreign wars, the war in Iraq, the war on terror, all that stuff was pretty much, it wasn't for the people, it was for enriching corporations. Same thing with...
So how do you feel? Well, okay, you're saying the war in Ukraine not approved by the American public.
And the biggest
Once
example
Russia went into the Ukraine, what do you think the American public wanted America to do? Do you think we would have favored just sitting back and letting it happen, or should we helped out Russia or helped out the Ukraine? What do you think the sentiment of the American public is in regards to the Ukrainian people being invaded?
Well, that's the whole thing too. The idea of the American public is controlled by who is it? It's these private institutions that are in bed with the government, the media. So they're pushing positive war, pro-war. They've been banging on the war drums for the last 20 years, and they've been used, like, they obfuscate the public and they promote things that are against their interests, which we've seen it times and times again with COVID lockdowns, mandating a private product to be used just to operate in public life, from these wars that have just indebted us.
So without corporate intervention, if we were just sitting around without corporate intervention that you say is happening, and we heard on the news that the Russians invaded to Ukraine without corporate intervention, what do you think the majority American position would have been?
Well, when you're talking about just like the average citizens, like, I don't think anyone's like you got so much like, I don't want to say it MK Ultra programming, but that's pretty much what it is with all these social media. Every single celebrity is aligned with this stuff, the media. So like there is, and it's coming from both sides. You have the neocons on the right, which have been around for, 20 years, and then it's approved by the left. Like all this, you didn't really have any.
So what would happen under Trump? If Trump was in office when the Ukraine was invaded, what do you think the Trump administration would have done?
I don't think they would have invaded, but if they did, it's really hard to tell, honestly, because there is so much neocon support in the Republican Party. It's like so deeply, like, I think Trump, you would probably take the, de-escalation stance. He wouldn't be, definitely wouldn't be escalating. He wouldn't be arming Ukraine, which is, he wouldn't be taking the pro-NATO stance, because he definitely he took away funds from NATO, from what I remember. He talked about totally separating us from NATO entirely. Do you think that's a good thing? Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
So you believe that if NATO was disbanded, we would be better off?
100%. I think America should be put first, not, these. It's a super corrupt government in Ukraine. You got these, it's riddled with Nazi like ideology, and like we shouldn't be fighting these wars and creating.
If you are part of if you got alliances with a whole group of nations, you got alliances basically on every continent. You think getting out of all of those alliances and standing by yourself would be a better position?
They're not even alliances. Most of the EU, it's pretty much a corporate state of the United States, Australia. They do whatever the United States tells us to do. We run the world pretty much through economic warfare. Like, they do whatever, and it's not perceived like this, but these countries, they do whatever we want already.
So
you're seeing less and less of it now. They're moving away.
Let me ask it to you this way. Let's say we did what you suggested is better. NATO was disbanded, and some of those countries, the smaller countries that used to be part of NATO, felt like their security was weakened, and they decided to enlist with Russia to protect themselves. Do you think that would be better if some of the NATO member states, once we disbanded, decided to side with Russia? Because that obviously could happen. Once they no longer had an umbrella of the United States, they may move to one of our allies for protection. You think that would be a good thing?
You're even seeing it now. I don't know if France was a part of NATO. I'm pretty sure they were. They were a pretty big ally of ours.
Who is France moving to?
They're in talks with Russia and China right now in the BRICS nations of currently.
You're telling me that France is a member of NATO. Are you suggesting that France is considering leaving NATO?
I don't know if that's how they put it, but he's in talks with these guys who are the BRICS nations: China, Russia, Brazil, India.
I haven't heard remotely close to anything that you're saying on this. Give me another nation. You said there are other nations doing this. Give me someone else.
Well, that was the one off the top of my head. I just heard that one. They were recently just in the news cycles the last few days.
So you do support, though, breaking up NATO and leaving our former NATO states the freedom to join Russia, China, or whoever they want. You think that would be good for the United States?
Oh, yeah. All that money is just getting pretty much embezzled And like if we had an America First policy, we would be able to build amazing cities like we see in China and the Middle East. We would be able to, it's the infrastructure in America. We could have high-speed rails. We could put so much into schooling, protecting the children. America would be like such a great place if all the people who were working for us weren't working for outside interests. If it was turned inward.
Could you see any chance of doing what you suggested, bringing that? Could you see any chance that could lead to reestablishing the Soviet Union and making Russia a stronger country? Do you see any possibility of that happening?
Why is it a bad thing for us if Russia gets stronger? Shouldn't we want the whole world to get stronger? And shouldn't America want to progress? Why is it our job to make sure Russia's a weaker country next week? I don't think that's our job. We should this whole they're not hurting me. Russia hasn't done anything to me.
Okay.
So in other words,
if the Soviet Union
next year.
So in other words, if the Soviet Union was to regain their former self during the Cold War and gain that type of strength, you don't see that as being harmful to the United States at all?
Absolutely not. Russia's never done anything to me here. I mean,
Great. All right. Appreciate you coming in, Lock Talks. You know what we got to do. We obviously disagree, but come on back in anytime.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Soviet Union. Now, I will say this. Now, I do believe my last guest leans right. I don't think even folks on the right would support reestablishing the Soviet Union while at the same time weakening NATO. Is there anybody out there that agrees with that it's okay to disband NATO and let the Soviet Union become essentially the nation with all the alliances? That's interesting. All right, looking in the comments. Americans ain't progressing shit. We spending trillions on the war. In regards to what's happening in the Ukraine, I vehemently disagree that Americans are not progressing. Now, you're not seeing it specifically, directly, but there's no denying that the Russian military capabilities are getting weaker. They're constantly announcing drafts. I think they announced earlier this week they're going to start paying the soldiers more to encourage them to enlist. They're using World War II era tanks now because a lot of stuff has been destroyed. We essentially are being allowed to kick Russia's ass without even using U.S. troops. We're just paying money. We are weakening that country without putting any American lives in danger. That's what's happening, folks. Whether you agree with it or not, that's fine. My last guest did not agree with it. But at the end of the day, Russia is getting weaker due to this Ukrainian conflict. If America was not involved with this conflict, do you think Russia would have lost as much blood and treasure as they've lost? You think this war would still be going on if America was not involved? They're hurting at the cost of American intervention. So America is doing damage. We just don't want to give them credit because it's happening under Biden. Looking in the comments, they are using troops. Leaked documents say differently. The leaked documents say there are 14 American troops on the ground. That's what those documents have said so far. There are 14 American troops on the ground. We're not using troops in the Ukraine of any significant nature. It's not happening, even according to the leaked documents. Going back to the box, 9 Lives Matter. That's an interesting name. All right, 9 Lives Matter. In a country of 330 million people, 9 lives matter. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing good. You got to explain that name. I'm curious.
Well, it was something my husband had thrown my way because I had to change my name because a lot of people was associating my previous name with something other than what I wanted, to discuss, which was Kitty Cat on Top. I don't know if you remember that name.
Yeah, I do remember that. You like to talk about pussy. Nine Lives sound like that too.
No. See, that's the thing.
I do remember that name. I always remember references to pussy. All right, so a country under Trump, if I can say this with a straight face now, because you got pussy on my mind. Okay, if Trump versus Biden, America going forward, talk to me.
Okay. Let's talk. I believe America going forward with Trump would be under the control of the wealthy and under the influence of Russia and the BRICS, because I do believe Trump does have some type of association with Russia. And also, I believe he has some type of association with Saudi Arabia. And I believe the classified documents that they found at Mar-a-Lago, I do believe he was selling that information to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia probably was sharing it with Russia. I don't think.
Wow. H2O. Damn. So do you see Trump as being somewhat corrupt?
I think he gave it to Russia, but I think Saudi Arabia was probably sharing that information with Russia. Type of,
Okay, something happened to the. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yeah, I said, based on what you're saying, do you see Trump as somewhat being corrupt?
Ooh. Can you...
Okay, I don't know what's going on in that. So can you hear me?
You said I'm sorry. The connection is bad. The connection.
Okay, I'm gonna have to move it
Can
on.
You hear me?
Yeah, something's going on with the feed. We'll try. We'll keep it moving. Liberalism is apologize for whatever just hell went on, but my last caller, we had a horrible connection there. Family, very, very corrupt. There are folks definitely suggesting that. And I would be willing to state that the Hunter Biden stuff, in my opinion, where there's smoke, there's probably fire. But at the end of the day, with his dad being president, don't hold your breath that something is going to come out of that. What's going to either happen is it will culminate and Biden will pardon him. If Biden loses in 2024, he probably would issue a blanket pardon for his son. At the end of the day, no matter how guilty Hunter Biden might be, he's not going to do any time in jail. And I've said this before, if your child used your name, your position, your prominence to get paid, because at the end of the day, nobody lost their life, nobody was assaulted or had their innocence taken or anything like that. He used his dad's name to get paid. That's what the allegations are. If your child did that, you're not going to let your child go to prison when all you can do with the stroke of a pen is pardon them. Nobody's going to let their kid go to jail for something like that. Not to say he might not deserve jail time, but just being honest, none of us would let our child go to jail, and if you're Biden's age, it's going to be for the rest of your damn life, if all you got to do is sign a pardon. Nobody's going to do that. And anybody in the comments, I see somebody said I will, I don't believe you. No one was killed. No one was assaulted. He got paid. Essentially, that is what Hunter Biden did. He gained financially. It is criminally all day, every day, if it's true. But at the end of the day, nobody lost their lives. Nobody's going to let their son go to prison for the rest of their life if they can pardon them with the stroke of a pen under those circumstances. I don't believe anyone would let their kid go to prison for that. Even if you were not 82, but if you're president and you can sign, you think Trump would let his child, one of his children, go to prison if he could sign him off with a pen? You think Trump would do that? No, it's not, nobody's going to do that. But it's nice to pretend like, well, he's a grown man. He needs it. No, you're not going to do that. I mean, you got a president pardoning shady people all damn day. You got, I mentioned before, Sheriff Joe Arpaio down in Arizona was demanding or ordering his deputies to stop brown people and demand they produce paperwork proving they're in the country. Stopping naturally born American citizens of Mexican descent, violating their Fourth Amendment right, demanding they produce the paperwork to show they legally belong in the country. He was convicted. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, he was convicted and about to be sentenced to prison, and Trump pardoned him. But you're going to trip if Hunter Biden gets pardoned by his dad? It's not everybody in here would pardon him. I got somebody here typing Russian. What the hell? Hunter is the only policy the new congressional house has. Fair enough. Can't pardon state charges. Now, what Trump was doing was federal. What Sheriff Joe Arpaio, rather, that's a civil rights violation. When you're stopping people and demanding paperwork that they prove they're in the country, that's violating their civil rights. That's a federal crime. He was about to go to prison for violating a federal crime. Talking about Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and Trump pardoned him. You can look it up. You don't have to take my word for it. Trump pardoned him. But Hunter Biden getting paid from a foreign country. It wasn't even American tax dollars and taxpayer money. It's a foreign country. It's wrong to pardon him, but it's okay to pardon Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was actually violating the Bill of Rights of American citizens. Come on now, be honest with yourself. Obama wanted to shut down Gitmo. Now, China is okay because they own the Democrats. How do you see that? With Biden saber rattling in favor of Taiwan. How do you see China own? If China owned the Democrats, this is the time to take Taiwan. If China owned the Democrats, you would see them invading Taiwan right now. Trump promised this would happen. If Biden gets elected, China's going to attack Taiwan. It hasn't happened. Hasn't happened at all. So that doesn't make sense. Trump never took money from American people. He helped American people and gave to the people. I'm assuming you never attended Trump University. You never been to a casino in Atlantic City. You never tried to rent an apartment from Trump as an African American. I don't know. Okay, fair enough. All right, Trump paid more in taxes in China than he did in the United States. Wow. Tucker fake Carlson. Tucker fake news Carlson. Well, Tucker Carlson is history at this point. All right, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 95,000. I appreciate that. 757. You could be anywhere you want to be on this app. You're here rolling with your boy. Appreciate that. It's always an honor. As always, you could be anywhere. This is a MAGA-friendly program, just to let you know that. The program is and always will remain MAGA-friendly. Liberals are welcome as well. You like civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored, follow the program. Follow the program. All right, Abizilator. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. There's an elite league of people running this country. Ace of Spence. I hear that all the time. The deep state, the George Soros. I don't know what to believe on that shit. I really don't. I really don't know what to believe in terms of an elite league of people. For some reason, it's not letting my last. Actually, I don't know what the hell it means.
Hello.
Talking about Trump versus Biden going forward.
Damn. Only time I get on, I've been waiting for weeks, and here we go with.
What else? Biden announced he running. What do you think? Okay, apparently my guess is the hammer. Unfortunately, and I apologize for that. I get a lot of folks trying to get in. We do have a lot of passionate guests. I like to be able to speak to all you folks as much as I can. Certainly my MAGA, that's who I enjoy talking to. Certainly liberals as well, but unfortunately, nothing you can do if you're on the move and your connection gets bad. Or if it's my connection, as some would say. I heard something about the diary. What is the diary? I'm not this Ashley diary. What is this? Is this because I know somebody was talking about some girl had a diary on Biden or something. I don't know. Is that what we're talking about? Trumpsters, please keep giving Trump all your money, please. Wow. Okay, fair enough. Mental illness overload in America coming from Democrats. Well, if you believe that the Democrats have mental illness overload, take in consideration Republicans want to make sure they all have access to firearms. Go to your local insane asylum and hand everybody a gun and see what happens. Take fake Ashley Biden diary. I don't know what the hell that is. And I don't see where it's going to go anywhere. Trump needs plane parts. Send your check. What about America did Trump make great when in office? Well, folks who support Trump credit him with the economy. They talk about the pipeline. They talk about no major military conflicts that were going on. Him reaching out to the Saudis. Him reaching out to Kim Jong-un. Him working with Putin. I'm not on Team Trump, but I'm not going to pretend like there are not counter arguments to be made in favor of Trump. He wasn't all bad. I mean, there are plenty of things that I can see why somebody would support Trump. I can orate him pretty damn good. He wasn't he wasn't the demon. He wasn't the devil. I mean, there's reasons to like President Trump. Jesus went to Trump University and still trying to get his money back. Is that Jesus or is that Jesus? Your thoughts on Marianne Williamson's platform. Marianne Williamson, she also ran for president either in 16 or in 20. I think she ran in, was it in 16? 16 or 20. She's going nowhere. She's going nowhere. She's the one she's the author or something like that. In the last 4 years, or 2 years at least under Biden, from whenever it was when she ran, either 16 or in 20, she has not gained any, I won't say notoriety, but nobody knows any more about her now than they did 2 years ago. If you have aspirations to be president, you should certainly be as visible as you can in the offseason. Good example, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Many would believe, including myself, that he has aspirations to run for president of the United States. He's making sure he's known. There's quotes all of the time coming from Chris Christie. He is a contributor on ABC News with George Stephanopoulos. He's out there where you can see him. So people are keeping him in the spotlight. Marianne Williams, she hasn't gained any type of recognition points since she ran last time. So regardless of what she's running on, I don't think she has a chance. I don't think she has a chance. Governor of Illinois said he wanted to run for president. Really? We'll see. If you look at the laws on books, insane people are legally allowed a gun. Yeah, the gun laws in America, under the guise that the Second Amendment shall not be infringed upon, make it virtually impossible to stop folks from owning a gun, because the only way you can take the gun out of the hands of someone, even if they're mentally ill, is to infringe on their gun rights. You have to have gun legislation to address the mentally ill, such as, well, if you're coming home with PTSD, having nightmares, we got to do something with your gun rights. Or if your sight is starting to go away, we got to do something with your gun rights. And since there is an audience of people in this country that believe gun rights shall not be infringed upon, it's virtually impossible to do anything about mental illness, because that's the only way you can tackle mental illness in terms of gun rights is with gun laws. And if you're anti-gun law, then currently in America, you could have all your limbs chopped off and have somebody gouge out your eyeballs and you can still buy a gun. It is that, we are that pro-gun in this country that you don't even need arms and legs and you can still legally buy a gun. So there's no way to really address the mental illness. And folks on the right will tell you all the time, it's not the guns, it's mental illness. But you can't do anything to tackle mental illness if you believe the Second Amendment shall not be infringed upon. So at the end of the day, when you look at folks on the right yelling it's mental illness, and then you ask them, then what are you doing to attack mental illness? The answer is going to be nothing, because anything I do is going to be an infringement on the Second Amendment. So I can tell you what the problem is, but I really can't address it because my very nature of my principles don't allow me to. So essentially, like I said earlier, going to an insane asylum, if you know the problem mental illness, is like going to an insane asylum and still making sure all of the participants can get firearms. It really is. That's why you don't see any progress from the right, even though they say it's mental illness. I'll give you a perfect example for you folks in the comments saying, well, you don't know what the hell he's talking about. If you look in liberal cities to address gun violence, you see them passing all sorts of gun laws. Folks on the right believe they're crazy. It does not work. A gun don't shoot people. People kill people. Fair enough. The liberals have it wrong. That's fine. But there are areas in this country that have no liberal interference at all. Right-wing governor, right-wing mayor, right-wing county official, no liberal interference at all. If the right believes it's mental illness, and you're in an area that has no left-wing interference at all, addressing mental illness should be happening like that. Just like the liberals believe it's guns, they're passing all sorts of gun laws. If you're in a right-wing area, you should see all sorts of laws pertaining to mental health. There are none. There are none. It is no easier to get mental health issues addressed in the right-wing area than it is in the left. They're not doing anything about it. They're yelling that's the problem. But when you ask them, okay, well, what are you doing to address what you think the problem is? Nothing. Nothing. They go right back to where the liberals don't know what the hell they're talking about. There's no liberals in your area. What are you doing, though? Well, the liberals don't know what they're talking about. So until we actually want to tackle the problem, it's not going to go anywhere. It's really not going to go anywhere. And I don't think that's even refutable, that if you go to right-wing areas on a state level, on a county level, on a city level, where there is no democratic interference at all, you should have the most availability of mental health help you can ever get, because that's what they're saying the problem is, and they're just doing nothing to help that. In right-wing areas, you go to right-wing areas, they're talking about the liberals in Chicago don't know what the hell they're doing, okay? What are you doing in your area, though? Well, they don't know what they're doing in Chicago. I get that, but what are you doing in your area? Nothing. Nothing at all. Anyhow, folks, as always, you know what this is. It's a Lunch Break Live. Appreciate you rolling with your boy. 92,000 likes. I do want to say thank you for that. Appreciate it. As always, it's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I got to go. I think so.